Thank you, Craig, and good morning to everyone. I'm very pleased to be with you this morning. As you can hear, I'm French, and I'm leading Orange Consulting. In a few words, we are, as we say in France, un cabinet de conseil, and we are about 200 consultants, 200 in France, and we deal with digital transformation, as simple as that, with two characteristics. My consultants have got a technological background in networks, infrastructure, data, sometimes artificial intelligence, but only a few of them if we talk about real artificial intelligence. And on the other side, they are specialists of transformation because, as Craig said, all of that is about human interactions. So the way people interact and how it changes their way of behaving, their way of working together, and as well the organization is as important as technology. And we are working in different areas like health. We have people really specialists of health, but also insurance, smart cities, and industry. And I'm here to talk about industry. So first of all, as an introduction, I'd like to say that my intent this morning is not to expose a model that would describe, Industry 4.0. Somewhat what I will be trying to do is to use my own personal experience about Industry 4.0 that I've been trying to modelize somewhat, but it's a model among many, just for the purpose of this morning, which is human at the center of this transformation. The second point of introduction would be that I will be, at least to start with, a little bit moderating this sentence. And instead of saying human at the center, I will start with there needs to be a balance between technology and human factor. And I'll try to prove it. I will use only 2 slides. You will see that the second one is quite heavy, but don't worry. But 2 slides. One, which is an overall approach of the experiences that came to me or in which I was personally involved about Industry 4.0, overall view of my understanding, once again, of Industry 4.0, what it is about, and I'll try to demonstrate that there is this balance. And a second one, on a second slide, that is focusing on the Industry 4.0 use case, quite detailed, and once again, I will be trying to demonstrate why human factor is a key one to be balanced with technology. Just to move to the other slide. So I will be starting with the first one, which is about, my understanding, the way I would be, let's say, describing what is Industry 4.0 to my knowledge today. Maybe not tomorrow, but at least today. And I see 2 main axes. The first one is process-driven, which means that we try to improve the productivity of already automated processes. And we go one step further by using data. So we take data out of machines, sometimes down to sensors below the machines, from the PLC of the machines, from the SCADA of the assembly lines. We take all this data, we store it, we analyze it, and we try to take something out of it to improve the process and to bring it back to these automated processes. Today, at least to my knowledge, this is an off-time analysis. It's not real time. It's not a closed loop. It's an open loop. So people are doing analysis, and they try to do further on, better predictive maintenance, for instance, because they've been analyzing, what is the impact of the pressure of a fluid on the time to repair or mean time between failure of a filter within, for instance, a brewery kettle. So they make an analysis and they try to improve the process through that. An example that I've got also into the beer industry, it's a beer manufacturer in Europe, and they've got 60 breweries all over the world. They grab data from all these 60 breweries. It's interesting to notice that these breweries are coming from several acquisitions. So they all have their own routines. So by taking detailed data, what they are trying to do is to invent a new process that would be the best of breed of the best practices of each brewery. And then they re-inject it. For me today, most of these experiences are not closed loop. It's open loop. You think, you rebuild your process. You don't invest a lot in it, apart from a lot of brain and data storage and data analytics. Probably tomorrow, we'll have more and more closed-loop systems. That means that you will be grabbing data out of a system, combine it with environmental data, with other systems data, and so on, and you will reintroduce straight real-time into the process the modifications. And probably at this time, we will be calling that artificial intelligence. But at this time, I see only a few of these examples. But let's be modest. 30 years ago, when I was working in Matra Marconi Space, in the spacecraft industry, the automatic pilot of spacecraft were using that kind of techniques. We called it, Kalman filters. It's a statistical analysis, real time, that you re-inject into your pilot. So we'll be doing that, but with massive data and with, computers that has nothing to see with the computers of 30 years ago. So this first axis, is it a revolution? From my standpoint, not really. It's a big evolution, but it's in the continuity of what we did decades ago when we automated processes. So it's engineer-driven, it's top-down, but the beauty of it is that it has huge ROI. Why? Because the investments you do are not insignificant, but minor compared to the investment in automation. It's taking data out of the blue, storing it, and analyzing it. So it's new kind of know-how, but it's less an investment than the automated processes. And you apply it on processes that are already automated, so amortized, and you bring several points of OEE, overall equipment efficiency, to this already amortized equipment. So you can see by evidence that the ROI is huge. And that's the reason why I believe that industrial start with that. That's a clever way to do things. The other axis is quite different because it deals with interactions, digital interactions. To simplify, 10 years ago, we invented smartphones. And this is probably this small stuff was one of the triggers of what we call the digital revolution, transformation, whatever. Because, once again, decades ago, we invented the business process reengineering through transactional IT systems. It was already digital. But it was digital transaction, not digital interactions. And what is new into the industry, and especially within the plants, the shop floor, is that we have now smartphones, Google Glass, whatever, workspaces, I would call it, that are solid enough and easy to use enough so that people can use it, direct and indirect workers within the shop floor. On top of that, objects, and especially moving objects, are connected through IoT, Internet of Things. So the combination of both enable to create real-time digital interactions between humans and things, moving things, sometimes non-moving things, like the famous automated process I was talking about a little bit earlier, or even IT systems. So you bring real-time or not information to a human walking into the shop floor. You give him information that he cannot see, but which is complementary to what he sees, and that will enable him to take appropriate decision with relevant data. And by the way, it will have a positive impact on its effectiveness. As simple as that. Sometimes even you can propose in different alternatives of actions. But he makes the last decision because he's got his knowledge, he's got the understanding of what is really happening, probably also the understanding of what is not written into the information system. This is what it is about. And it's particularly relevant into discrete manufacturing, where not everything is automatized, and in overall supply chain, indoor or outdoor supply chain. So, do we make it the same way than the process-driven transformation? No. No, because we are dealing with human interactions. So you cannot invent human interactions into an office. It's not a done process. It has to be bottom-up. The people on the ground, it's the shop floor, they know what they need. They know what is happening every day and what they need in addition to what they don't have yet. So you do it bottom-up, you do it with people, you use, you kind of design thinking, UX design techniques, but you have to bring it to a level that can be used by direct and indirect workers within the shop floor. An example of it, and to end with this part of my presentation, we worked with a chemical manufacturer. In fact, we are still working with them. We've been starting 2 years ago, and they said, we have a pilot factory. We give you the keys of the factory. You work with people, and you come with ideas of digitalization, but we want to improve the productivity, and on top of it, we want the people to buy in. We want to demystify digital transformation within the shop floor. So what we did our work of consultants. We did UX design and design thinking, but adapted to a shop floor. It was not 3 hours workshops. It was 1 hour. Because people are on shift, and they cannot be extracted more than 1 hour from the production. And close to the break, because in that case, it's even easier. The place where we did the workshop was not in an office. It was close to the canteen, because people can see what is happening and give ideas. Out of these sessions, it lasts about 2 months because we had to work on personas, 1 day in the life of, all that kind of things, classical. It's what we did in lean manufacturing, by the way, or Oshin kind of exercises, but for digital. We came with several ideas. Simple ones, like a translator, because the people at the goods reception, they talk with different truck drivers in different language, so a translator is a quick win. Digital planning, displayed on a screen or on the smartphone, quite useful. A lot of OE improvement, by the way, very quickly. Smart forklift, I will dig into this one right after. But the most impressive one was a simpler one, and it demonstrates the way we need to involve human into it. It's a big shop floor, and very often people have no visibility who is next to them, who is close to them. And they do material handling, sometimes without a machine or without a forklift, so they have to do it manually. And alone, not easy. So they need another one, a colleague, to help them. But they don't know where they are. So they said, we want to have a connected wristband to know where we are and locate each other. Imagine if the plant manager had come to them and said, okay, guys, we're going to locate you with a wristband. It was not in France, it was in the Netherlands. But even in the Netherlands, that would have been an issue. Just an illustration of the fact that the combination of technological approach with large ROI together with more human-centric approach, but not to be kind with humans, it's just a necessity. The combination of these two approaches is absolutely needed to make it happen. Even if you've got little ROI on the second axis, because you have to invest more, you have to do a lot of use cases before finding the right one. You reinvent new processes, so it's completely different than improving already existing processes. Even if this is more a kind of adventure, doing that is a key success factor for the both axes. So that's the first part of my presentation, which I have 5 hours left. Now 5 minutes. This one, I love it. Nobody can understand it. It's ugly, full of colors, but we won't dig into it. It's a kind of a counterintuitive demonstration. I try to tell you, human is at the center, and I come with technical boxes. And I will prove the contrary. I will try. So this is a smart forklift. So a few descriptions. I will probably not do all of them. The first thing, what we tried to do was to avoid misloads. So you've got raw material, big bag, and you want to avoid misloads because of weights, because it's not the right raw material of the bill of materials that you put into the vessel, into this chemical industry company. And there was a lot of misloads, therefore bad quality, batches that you had to cancel, and huge impact in terms of OEE. And frankly speaking, this was not something that we anticipated. It's by talking with workers and so on. In fact, it's a lot of small mistakes that make a big one. So we said, we need to do something with forklift. By the way, when I visited the plant the first time, there was a lot of forklift doing some kind of gymkhana. I guess that something was to be done in terms of forklift. But anyway, we did a smart forklift. First thing we did, we put an RFID on the forks to check that this is the right big bag of raw material according to what we've been indicating to the forklift driver into the workspace. So we take the fabrication order from the ERP, the green box, we put it into the workspace, the orange box, and then we check through the IoT and through the sensor that is on the forklift, the RFID tag, that this is the right one. Simple, huh? But complex. You see the number of interfaces that you have to create to make it. Then what you do, you check whether or not the weight of these big bags, considering it's the right one now, is in the range of what is accepted by the fabrication order in terms of quantity, weight. If it is in the range, okay. If it's not in the range, another sequence. Consider, to simplify, that it is in the right range, but not the exact quantity of the raw material of the fabrication order. You say, okay, it's in the range. I make a computation, and as it is the main raw material, I adjust the other ones, the quantities and weight of the other ones, so that the balance of the bill of material is okay. And then we give instructions so that the forklift driver takes the right quantities of the other parts of the bill of material. Simple. Once again, you need to be connected with the workspace. You need to be connected with the sensor of the forklift that weighs. You need to be connected through an IoT, and you need to be connected through the manufacturing execution system so that the decisions that you are making are fed back into the fabrication order. And so on and so forth. You inject it into the vessel. You need to update the PLC. You need to update the MES so that the schedule of your plants is adjusted. You need also to adjust it into the ERP so that when you will be doing your quantity declarations, the forecasted quantity is according to the adjustment of the forecast and is according to the real quantity produced. All that is technical. A lot of boxes. For the specialists, you will recognize, the ISA 95 scheme with ERP, manufacturing execution system, SCADA, PLC, the IT and OT world. This one is a little bit transgenic because I've been adding, IoT, workspace, data, and security. A lot of boxes. But indeed, the issue is not only technical. Because behind these boxes, you've got people. You've got people coming from different environments, having different kind of techniques. The engineer, is not used to work in a kind of agile mode. He's on the first axis, process-driven. Process crosses people. Huh? They drive people, not the contrary. While in IT, they start to be somewhat trained in agile. The way you manage your investment in IT and in OT world, I would say, has nothing to see. In IT, you manage a network. In OT, you don't. The network follows. Data scientists, what do they have to see with these people? Network people from Orange. Security into it, security for the plant, security for the IT system. Security for the plant, these people, they were used to protect the system against itself. In IT, they are used to protect the system against outside. The human factor of it is that we've got to make these people work together, to orchestrate what they do together, to find new ways of working, to change the organization and also to change, the governance of all of it. So even on this example, when I start with a very technical way to demonstrate what is Industry 4.0, it ends up with a human issue. So with these two examples, and I'm finished, with these two examples, I try to demonstrate, as any demonstration, you could have some counter-arguments, but I try to demonstrate that there is really a balance between technology and human factors, and I would even say that human is at the center of a successful transformation.